Good day, everyone, and let's continue about the ethics and CSR. That would be our last discussion for final turn. And of course, on this module, we will be going to talk about the CSR and the ethics, how this ethics and CSR are related to each other, especially in the concept, in the perspective, and of course, there are some arguments on the practice of the CSR. We will be going to discuss also the four types of CSR, the corporate social responsibility with regards of the customer relation, and of course towards the community and the environment as well. Let's talk about the concept of CSR. So let's define first what is corporate social responsibility. So in this case, it is actually a self-regulating business model that helps a company to be socially accountable for itself to the stakeholders, and of course the stakeholders and the social responsible to be socially responsible into the public. And of course, practicing this corporate social responsibility is um, creating corporate citizenship. Companies can be conscious of this kind of impact they are all having on all aspects of society, including economic, social, and of course, environmental. So, if you are talking about the concept of the corporate social responsibility, it always look into the different aspect wherein it creates a corporate citizenship. So in this case, the companies is very conscious on this because they're looking into the economic side, social side, and environmental aspect of the company. So, corporate social responsibility is a need of every company to make sure that they are socially responsible in everything that they do, especially in the environment and in their community. Okay, so let's discuss about the different type of CSR. Then we have the types of corporate social responsibility. So in general, there are four main types of corporate social responsibility, and this is because the company must engage or choose to engage in any of this separately, and lack of involvement in one area does not necessarily exclude the company from being socially responsible. So that's why it is important for a company to look into the different types of CSR. So let's discuss first the first type, and that is environmental responsibility. So, what do you know about the company about the CSR? First is that they have to be environmental responsibility. Responsible because it creates a pillar of social responsibility in the preservations of the nature. Of course, being environmental responsible, it support the different act in dealing with all the natural resources that need to involve in different environmental stewardship, and that is like for example the pollution reduction. They have also the natural consumption of the environment resources, and even the emission is important, especially in the manufacturing process. So they are also looking into the different recycling methods or different practices in recycling of any goods and services and materials. So another example is for the natural resources or replenishment of the natural resources, and even distribution of goods and services in terms of the methods that creates less impact to the environment, like for example creating a product lines that enhance their values. So another type is the ethical responsibility. This kind of responsibility is the pillar of a corporate social responsibility rooted especially in fair and ethical manner. So in this term, they have to set their own standards through external forces or demands from the clients that shape the ethical goals of being ethical on each of their mission and objective as well. So one of the example of this ethical responsibility is being fair. are having this fair treatment to all type of customer, whatever demographic profile, like their age, race, or culture, and even sexual orientation. So they have also to be positive on the treatment of all employees. That includes favorable pay or favorable benefits in excess, of course, of the different employment consideration. Of course, the excess of the minimum mandated minimum of their salary, and of course, aside from that, to look into the personal differences as well. So there are also some of the example, like for the suppliers, they have to look or utilize also some of the different suppliers depending on the races, gender, or even the economic status. So they should have the honest disclosure of any operating system for the investor that is in timely manner and respectful manner. So as long as it is mandated by law, so they have to abide on that, and the company choose to manage its relationship with external stakeholder beyond what is legally required. So that is very important. And another thing is the philanthropic, which is a very fair corporate social responsibility as one of the pillar, because the challenge of this philanthropic responsibility is giving the best contribution to the society in a simplest form, meaning that it refers to the company's resources, wherein it includes a contribution to make a place better, or to make the world a better place. So whether a company donates a profit or charities into other company into the society, as long as they have a good relationship with their suppliers and vendors aligned with the company philanthropic activities. And of course, another thing, another example is to support, of course, their employee in a philanthropic goal, like for example, a fair contributions, and of course, companies fundraising as well as one of those. In other words, this philanthropic is more on giving out a help for the community. So in this term, it also add to the creation of value to, of course, to the products and services of the company. And being on this kind of activities will enhance the chance of the company to be well known in giving out the social, being social responsible to their society. And of course, important also is the financial responsibility is a CSR as well, that were um, that the responsibility ties together for a different level, especially in terms of environment, in terms of being ethical and philanthropic focused. And the company also must have a backup plan on this, especially on the different investment programs, donations, and the product research as well. So on this, they can rest assured that the financial is being will be stable. They have to focus more on the research and development for the new products, and encouraging, of course, sustainability. They have to do some recruitment with the different types of talent, so that they could ensure the different types of diversity, uh, diverse workforce. So having this kind of initiative to different social awareness and environmental concern will have a more CSR result. So in this case, it becomes so transparent also, especially to some financial concerns, specifically on the financial audit. So on this CSR of financial responsibility, the company must ensure that there's a financial transparency on this, so that there will be uh, enough chance for the company to make sure that everything is under control with regards of their investment. Okay, even though there are some of the different practices, no, of CSR in every company. Of course, there are also some arguments on the corporate social responsibility, and some of the arguments here is that businesses are owned by their shareholder. Money spent on CSR by managers is theft of the right full property of the owner. So in this case, there are really an arguments wherein because of this, it was not really spent wisely. Sometimes the manager is theft of the rightful property. And number two, the companies that focus mostly on CSR activities are not successful because in the marketplace itself. No, so they are not really focused on the marketplace, but it's more on the CSR. Times are hard. We have to focus also on the bottom line in order to survive. So that's why it is also very difficult for the company to penetrate the what we call this the reputation, because sometimes it's really hard to create a good image. No? So they have to focus on this kind of activities wherein they could create an image, a good image towards their brand. So it is also a responsibility of the government to deal with a lot of benefits socially and not on business. So companies don't care. They are only focused on the profit. So CSR is just a PR smoke screen. So meaning that the companies really don't care whether they are that what we are doing is really comes from the heart, but their real motive is really to focus on the profit alone. So there are some arguments on that. That's why sometimes the CSR cannot be considered as the actual motive of the company, but there are some commonly heard arguments against CSR. Okay, so CSR should always be in the towards the customer and the welfare of the customer as well. Okay, so aside from the customer, also with the community. So the responsibility towards the consumer, that corporate social responsibility should include as the following. So they should provide a good or standard quality. They should have the fair prices, and then to provide prompt and courteous after sales service, to handle consumer complaints or customer complaints in the grievances, and to avoid unfair trade practices like adulteration, black marketing, and hoarding. So these are the CSR customer related practice that the company should look after, because in order for you to get the customer attention, the company should be responsible enough to make sure that there always be a fair trade practices, not towards the business. And another thing is that the social responsibility, or the customer I mean the corporate social responsibility in a community, um, should practice with the aim of improving their communities and the economy, and of course the environment. So there are such a corporate social responsibility in a form of self-regulation that reflects, of course, business accountability. So meaning that if you want to really involve with the community, you have to form a self-regulation that reflect business accountability and commitment to contribute more onto the well-being of the communities and the society. So it is actually a crucial role, no, for the company to provide the CSR, to have the brand perception, a company's brand perception, attractiveness to customer, because of course they have to have their investor, they should have their talent retention and overall the business success. In a company that looking into the community welfare, they should implement four types of CSR. Of course, these efforts should include environmental initiatives such charity works, ethical labor practices, and volunteer projects. So this business owners should also look into the implementations to improve more on their initiatives of corporate social responsibility to learn more about the benefits of it, and to provide more best practices, and of course to have the potential pitfalls. So that would be about the CSR of the company. And I hope you learned something from this, because this is very important in a company. They have to look into how they will establish an image towards the customer welfare, and at the same time, in return, it will also establish more attention from the customer, and the trust, of course, from the customer. Thank you for listening, class, and have a great day.